Hey guys, welcome to Aesthetically Unfiltered. I'm Brandy McAndrew, nurse practitioner, and I'm going to talk about the aesthetic industry with no filter, just facts. All right, guys, this is Lauren Carbo. She is my childhood friend and now business partner, and we're going to go through kind of how we got started and how our story kind of stands out. So, say hi.
Hey, I'm Lauren Carbo, nurse practitioner and Brandy's friend. So when we first got together, we had a phone conversation. She was in Texas at the time, and I was here in Covington. And we both wanted to get into aesthetics, both had the interest in it. And we both decided, let's go get our training. You do some there, I'll get my experience here, and then we'll come home and come together. So good conversation.
Was I working in Dallas at the plastic surgeons?
I think you were, I
had just started there.
Yeah.
And you called me and you were like, hey, I'm shadowing at this place in Mandeville. And I was like, what? Back in the day when we were younger, we were like the tomboys we played softball together, soccer together. Yeah. We dominated the field together. But we were kind of like the tomboys that wore bows. So if you would like talk to us now, I would never believe that who we were back then and now what we do for
from slide tackling and red dirt all over us.
Yeah. To this. For real. And no sunscreen.
Yeah.
So that conversation pretty much changed everything for me because I was like, oh, wow, I don't have to do this alone. Like my thought, I always wanted to open a med spa. That's the only reason I went to nurse practitioner school. You were already a family nurse practitioner at the time. So you had graduated and you were working as a family nurse practitioner and you had like the wellness and you know, you wanted to pursue that.
So I was a family nurse practitioner doing family practice, but on the side, off days doing learning aesthetics. So then when we had the great idea to get together, it was just like game on from there.
Yeah, you were calling me for literally advice. And at that time, I was not moving home. I was like, Louisiana is crap. Texas was booming. Even though they had an injector on every corner, there was enough people to go around. Yeah. That's what I liked about it. Like even now here, it's so small. Right. Competition is weirder here than it is in Dallas. And you would think it wouldn't be like that.
I even remember telling you it's different here. People don't talk about it. It actually changed once we started because I said people don't talk about it. They don't tag their injector. They're not saying they're getting
in Dallas. They were like
injector. Right. Yeah. So they were ahead of the game, and I'm like, it's a little different here. So,
but I'm glad I had your perspective because I was coming over here like thinking it was people were just like they were in Dallas and they weren't. So that's coming together and like figuring out a game plan with that and how we were going to market natural, subtle. Right. But now everybody does talk about it.
Yes.
And that's in 3 years. It's
changed drastically. So
yeah. So you called me. I remember you asked me advice, and I remember just like walking around my apartment being like, oh, this could work. And I think that was in June of 2021. Yeah. I made the LLC that night. We literally picked the name that night, and we had a spot we opened in September. So that was like when our wheels started really turning.
Yeah. Went from an idea to going in motion very fast. So my husband and I flew out to Dallas to meet with Brandy and her husband, and we were just like spitballing ideas, talking about things. And then her husband was looking at spots and said, "Oh, Chenier, there's a property open."
So we were in Dallas.
Yeah, we were in Dallas just looking at it. I'm like, oh, we have to be there. That is the spot in Mandeville. So
yeah, I didn't know what Chenier was, and now it's like it really is the heart of Mandeville. Like you can go a little bit that way to Old Mandeville, or you can go, that way to all the other places, but we're like the only people in this little area. Right. So that's what I like about it. It's so like everybody knows where Bistro Byron's is. Everybody knows where Chenier is. So I think that has helped us kind of pivot our business or like make it booming really quickly. Got our name out there quickly.
So we flew home, checked out the spot, and I said, we have to have this spot. Locked down the spot. I flew back out to Dallas.
Wait, do you remember how we locked down the spot? So they were hiring us to do a business plan. And we had no idea what a business plan was. We didn't think they were going to give it to us because we had no money. Like you had a career a little bit. I barely had a career. I was still in nurse practitioner school. I was working for the plastic surgeon in Dallas, which I'll kind of go into in another episode how important that was for me and the success that I have now, even though he was like the worst human being to work for. But I learned so much of what not to do and what to do. So we found that spot. In order to get approved for the spot, we had to have a business plan. Right. So I remember us sitting at the island, coming up with these numbers just to make it work on paper and like ridiculous numbers. We were like, yeah, we could do that. We could do that. Knowing that we didn't know. We didn't know if we could do
going off a mock business plan just to like try and get ideas on how to build ours.
Yeah. So we came up with like goals for the year, never thinking we would actually hit it, and we did. Mm-hmm. The first year we reached goals that we were like
we thought
making up. We were laughing at how crazy these goals were, but you know, I remember us being like, okay, how many Botox patients do we have to see to afford rent? How many do we have to see? You were working. Mm-hmm. She was working as a nurse practitioner and coming in the evening.
Yeah.
So we'll go into that as well. So let's talk about business plan. We got approved and I don't know how. And then we started construction. So obviously, you know, having my dad and my brother's experience helped us get started really quickly. We had to cut some corners. We had to do, you know, half walls, and we really just made it work. We showed up every single day working. I mean, me and Lauren had hammers and hanging sheetrock. So we definitely put in our time over there. Thankfully, we didn't have to do that for this build out because
trying to help our husbands put in trim and sheetrock, and we have no idea.
I'm sure there's tons of crooked walls over there. If you look closely at it, but it was such a good space for us for when we started. We were so lucky. Like every time somebody walked in, they were like, "Oh my gosh, this place is awesome." And
it kind of started that boutique medical spa look that's now very popular.
Yeah, we were ahead of game, but once again. But we did such a great job, and having the support that we had. I mean, we were like putting our money together. Remember, we were just like, okay, how much is this? Let's split it. It was crazy. If you go back and think about where we started to where we are now, it's pretty insane. Now our overhead is a lot higher now. We have employees, we have a build out that we just did. So it was much simpler times, but also like every single little thing that went wrong seemed devastating to us because we had so much to lose. So we'll go into that in the future as well. So kind of go into like what made you want to get into aesthetics.
So I loved getting aesthetics. I think I started before my wedding. I was like 27, and I remember going in there and just loving it. I went to someone first, I went somewhere in Covington, and I was just always loved to hear about it. How did you get into this? And I really just enjoyed learning about aesthetics, and like I always wanted to get it. And then oh God,
that's okay.
Rambling. So it was just something that I really wanted to do. I love the beauty industry, and really made me happy all the time. So I just was like, I want to get into this. I love the wellness industry as well. So it was a mix of the two. So
yeah, same thing for me. I really wanted to get into skincare because I had pretty severe wrinkles for a 24-year-old when I got into it, because I literally lived in the sun with sports. We never put sunscreen on.
No,
we never wore
tanning beds. Don't ever do that.
Yeah, obsessed with tanning beds. We were in the sun every weekend, all day long, playing sports. So for a 24-year-old, I literally had terrible wrinkles.
Yeah,
and I remember walking into the first med spa, and just asking so many questions. I was so intrigued by it. And this was when it wasn't a thing. It was not a thing back home. So people were judging me for getting it so young. I remember that. They'd be like, "You don't need Botox." And I'm like, "Yes, I do."
Yeah, it was taboo, you know?
It was really taboo. And I was really judged for a second. But look at me now. So I remember walking there and just asking her questions. And she was a nurse. And she had a nurse practitioner working in the building because you had to, right? And I just remember getting skincare and Botox, and I was hooked from that moment.
Yeah.
I decided in that chair that I wanted to be an aesthetic nurse practitioner.
Right.
She was like, "Yeah, I have to pay the nurse practitioner to be here." And I was like, "Well, why wouldn't you just go back to school?" Like I just thought it, like I said it too, you know how I am. So I was like, "Why wouldn't you just go back so that you don't have to pay another one?" She's like, "Well, that's kind of my plan." And I'm like, I knew that that's what I was going to do.
Yeah.
So going back to nurse practitioner school was really tough because it's not the school that's hard. It's like the doing life and it's doing working full time. I was a travel nurse. So that was the hardest part of it. It's not the actual learning, but I did a lot of it online. So it was a little bit harder because of that, because I had to like really plan out my life. I was studying while I was working. So not ideal, but it was best case scenario for me to do that in order to own a med spa. That was my whole goal from that moment I was in the chairs, to own a med spa. So that's why when you called me, I was like, oh my gosh, this could really happen. I didn't think I was going to do it back in my hometown or close to my hometown, but I'm glad it all worked out because I'm back home with family. When we started, we knew so many people.
Right.
And we had people coming from New Orleans. We knew people from around here.
High school people coming to see us.
Yeah, we went to mutual high school. So we went to high school together. So we just knew a lot of people and there wasn't a lot of places like this. We were the first med spa in Mandeville to open up in this area.
Yeah, I remember. So I was obsessed with Zeo products even before we got into aesthetics, and I would go buy my Zeo products that I probably couldn't afford.
No, I definitely
go to a med spa, and I was like, this med spa is great, but it's missing character, personality, and so all those things. I was like, we could really do that. So
yeah, we've basically created a space that no one else had. That's what I think is really cool. Now everybody kind of has to do the same thing with the amenities and the experience. It really is truly an experience when you go into places. That's what people are looking for. They're looking for trust. They're looking for somebody that's going to tell them no. And I think that's the culture that we've kind of created.
And follow-ups, making sure patients are happy. A lot of times they just went somewhere and then they didn't really care to address it or anything like that. So
yeah, we truly care about like people coming back to us. We want that. Yeah. We want that retention for that relationship. So that's definitely the mission and the values that we've created. And we sat down and created those at the island that night. And I had just found out I was pregnant. I'm pretty sure we told y'all that night. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
like, oh wow.
I moved home. I graduated nurse practitioner school. I was pregnant. We were doing a build out.
And then you got COVID.
Oh, I got COVID. Literally knocked us out for 2 weeks during the build out. And then a hurricane hit during our opening.
Yeah.
So
we had to push that back.
That was cool, Yeah. So that was the first thing that hit us. And we were like, so we'll go into kind of all the barriers and all the things that kind of happened to us that we were just like, shit, are we ever going to catch a break? It was tough. I mean, now we look back and we're like, it's kind of laughable that little things like that
it all the time.
We were just waiting for that one thing to just like close us down, and we had barely started. So the initial challenges and obstacles, let's kind of go over that. Just coming up with the money. I don't think we ever like talked to we had no plan B.
No.
So
that was it.
I think that's why we were successful.
It was all or nothing.
We were a little delusional.
Right.
Nobody truly believed that we could be as successful as we are today because it wasn't a thing.
Right.
And so even talking to our husbands, my parents, nobody truly believed that they knew I would be successful. They just thought it would take maybe longer.
Yeah.
But within the first year we blew up, and now by year 3, we've already done a whole nother build out.
I remember my parents being like, wait, what are you doing? What? I'm like,
do they still say that?
Yeah, it's probably.
They're like, wait, what do you do? My dad literally does. He's like, wait, people spend that amount of money? I mean, our family's so simple. Let's get
exactly.
into that. Yeah. Let's talk about that. Like, we come from families that don't have money. Like, we weren't driving expensive cars. I didn't have AC in my car at one point. Like, we came from the most simple families. Our families both worked really hard to keep us in private school in New Orleans, and that's where all my family's money went. So we didn't have nice things. My mom had never gotten Botox.
Yeah, same.
She didn't know. Definitely not. So she barely gets it now because she's too scared.
Yeah.
But I didn't come from that, so I have no idea how I learned about aesthetics and where my interests even started. But because it wasn't my family.
Yeah.
So when it came to money, we both came from like really hardworking families, and I 100,000% think that that's why we're successful, right? Because we worked for everything that we had. We were never handed anything. Yeah.
So I always had that drive to be better, to do it, because when you're seeing struggle, you want to have that, you want to plan for that. So
yeah, paycheck to paycheck is not a way to live. And that's how my dad lived, feast or famine, having a construction business. So now owning your own business has its own like things, right? It's not always what it's cracked up to be, but I truly believe like the work ethic and coming together and like having somebody to lean on and, pick up your slack when you're not able to, and vice versa is why we are huge here where we are. Yeah. The process of building out the business. So, it was a very, like, what are we doing in like 6 to 8 weeks?
Yeah, it was very quick. And
very quick.
We had a timeline. So we were trying to open September 2021. So we were pushing everybody.
Yeah. And that's when the hurricane hit. So
Yeah.
there was just like something always. But we opened pre-booking, and we were pre-booking people before we even opened our doors.
Yeah, which is crazy. She's like, all right, we're going to get our Instagram together and just market the pre-booking. I'm like, okay, we sent out mailers.
Yeah. Oh, God. Now I would be like, yeah, that's not worth the money.
Right.
But we really did all the things. We were doing photo shoots
before
that everybody's doing now. We did that, and it wasn't the best photo shoot.
It was in, I flew back out to, okay, we got the business and we got the place. And then she's like, all right, come out to Dallas. We're going to do a photo shoot. I'm like, okay. Packed some outfits, went in, and we were having sushi, champagne.
Yeah.
And then
Bang energy drinks.
Yeah. And just like doing a brand photo shoot. I'm like, okay, this is and it was, we didn't love
we were way ahead of our time. Yeah. Though. Like nobody was doing that in Dallas. They actually had those rooms that you can rent out to do the photo shoots. Right. But nobody, because I worked in Dallas, that gave me like I just had like ahead of people. I was ahead of people.
And everything pink. We had these pink scrubs, lip earrings, like trying to just get
lip balloons.
Lip balloons and some dresses. It was so much fun.
Well, 1000%. That's why we are where we are. Even with our marketing now, like, can you believe that we started with that? I was making posts every night in my bathtub. Yeah. Like we did it all. We did it all up until we couldn't. And that's, we'll go into that, like the hiring, when we decided to hire and all that stuff. So let's talk about let's talk about when you were working. You were still working part-time. And then like I called you one day and I was like, you have to be here.
Because she's like, the phone's ringing, the patients are here. And I'm like at my other job investing into it. So I'm like, all right, time to quit. But first we were like, we're going to have to keep 2 jobs for a while each. We didn't think that it would be full-time for a while. Yeah. And it was like, what, week 2? And you were like, come here. You need to be here 24/7.
It's all or nothing though. Yeah. Like when you own a business,
when you're putting into
if you're putting in half the work, then if you're not there, people can't book, right? So then we were like, okay, all or nothing. We're all in. We're in this together. So that's kind of how we figured it out.
Yeah, and it was hilarious. Answering phones.
Oh, we'd be doing lips, and then the phone would be ringing. Yeah, and like, hold please. And then the UPS guy would be, UPS. Do you remember that? We were like,
UPS, and we're like,
okay. So much for the experience. Yeah. So now we look back and we're like, oh, that's cringeworthy. But we had to figure it out. Like if you call somebody and they're not answering their phone, guess what? They're calling the next person. So I realized that really quickly.
Yeah, I was hurting every time the phone would ring or the door would open. I couldn't greet them, and that was huge to me as the customer service.
We just literally wanted somebody to greet people. Yeah. And so that was our first hire. So
answer the phone, greet people, check them out. So
yeah, I still see there's some people that'll do like you just request an appointment online, and then they get back to you. Like people want now. They want to know now that they're booked. They make those decisions really quickly. So you gotta catch them. Yeah. Like your website, your answering the phones, your social media, everything is so important when starting a business. Yeah. And so we did that. We made we branded ourselves. Yeah. We created a brand. It was our faces. It was our voices. It was our everything. So that's what drew people in. Yeah. It wasn't like the stocky photos and all that stuff. So I think that set us apart for sure.
And then doing our first introduction videos.
Oh gosh, we need to post that.
Yeah. So she like put it on her tripod. I'm such a dork. So she's like, all right, let's introduce ourselves. And I said, I'm Brandy, and you said, I'm Lauren.
That happened. We were like, I'm Lauren and I'm Brandy. That was terrible. But it goes to show you how far we've come. Now we're doing podcasts and videos but that was definitely cringeworthy for sure. So we talked about the initial challenges and obstacles, but let's talk about a couple months in when things just started happening and I was just like, oh my God, we can't catch a break. Yeah. We're like, is this worth it? Like there's so many times we wanted to quit. Right. So let's talk about one of them.
Yeah. So the building, we had these nice rugs and there was water starting to come, puddles.
Oh, we got flooded out multiple times.
We had this fridge in the back and it kept having puddles, and we're like, this isn't leaking from us, it's coming from next door. No one believed us.
Oh, we were like trying to fight the business next door. They kept flooding us, and then there was a point, this is really disgusting, but there was a point where like it was a kitchen, right? So it was a restaurant, and there was a point where they like did they sprayed, and then all of their like food roaches headed our way. So then we were like coming in and finding roaches, and we were like, what the hell is going on?
Because we didn't have a kitchen. We didn't have food.
Nothing. So every little thing that we walked into our beautiful spa that we created, and we were just like,
and it was gross.
We were crying.
Yeah, we were crying.
I remember crying.
We marched our butts over to the office and we were like, we need answers. We need help.
Yeah, it was, y'all. I mean, every penny we had into there.
Yeah.
And then every day we would show up, we'd either be flooded or there'd be roaches. And we were just like, this is.
Yeah. And we quickly learned my biggest thing during that was I was so emotional and sad over it and wanted help, but no one cares. No one cares because the office wants what they want. The person next door wants to not pay. So you're just like crying and like feel like you're drowning.
Yeah. I feel like that's what pushed us to get a second space so quick, too.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was just a lot of stuff that happened that we were like, what the F? Like, can we just catch a break and just like, it's owning a business every day is, you can walk into like either a disaster or a great day, but more so when it's your time and you're all your money to your name, like it's scary.
Yeah.
So the beginning was rough. But look where we are now.
Yeah. It all worked out. Crying to the office ladies.
Yeah, exactly. Create relationships because then people will take care of you for sure. Let's talk about the growth and development of the business. So we talked about, kind of how it started, but quickly how it grew. We did like 15% off for initial visits.
Yes.
And so we started building that clientele.
We did a community event to really meet the community. And we find that's the best way to really get clientele. So
yeah, we did these like little sip and strolls where we created this drink with cotton candy and we were like the talk of the town because
just meeting people.
We were like introducing ourselves, making
big and pink, and I'd be like, what is this?
Yeah, we were in hot pink scrubs.
Yeah.
So people were intrigued by us, just two little cute girls with under a tent serving drinks, and they're like, what else do they do? What do they sell?
Yeah.
So we do like going into the community and really people getting to know us and our faces, and they ask for us now because of that. So that's important to me. I don't want to ever people to be like, oh, they're too good to do these things anymore because it's been 3 years. So we have established clientele. Yeah. But we just did one not too long ago. We still want to be known. We still want to get into the community and do stuff like that.
So we started with a front desk and so she was answering the phones, checking people out. And then it was not the best esthetician. So we can talk about that a little bit.
Oh yeah, we were doing lasers, facials.
We were doing esthetician work, facials, and I'm not very smooth, and Brandy tried to teach me how to do microneedling and facials, and I'm very awkward with petting.
You were petting the patients. It was very. So then that's when we found Stella. So Stella had sent us a resume and we were not in the right place to hire somebody. Like we financially didn't know how we were going to do it, but we just knew that we couldn't do the services anymore. More Brandy couldn't hurt people.
Brandy was pregnant and fell out of a chair trying to do a laser.
I was doing a laser. That was when I was big and pregnant.
Yeah.
But so that's when we brought on Stella, and she really has been such a good addition to our team because of the fact that she's so knowledgeable about lasers. Like hire somebody that knows what they're doing.
And she's so results driven, and that's the best and most important thing.
I think that's why we liked her the most, because she was like willing to get in there and go more aggressive. She's laser certified, and a lot of people don't realize that that's its own entity. And so when you're coming in with her, you're safe, you're going to be informed, you're going to know expectations, and you're going to get results.
And she'll send you home if you cannot get the treatment based on what's going on with your skin.
So you don't want us to do your laser treatments. You want Stella. So when you're looking for a med spa, it's important to find somebody who has people that are trained and really good at what they do. Like we're the injectors, we do the weight loss. Stella does, the lasers, and Harley does facials and all that stuff. So we're all each really good at what we offer. Yeah. Oh, let's talk about something that was really interesting that we couldn't talk about a lot. That time that we had to do CPR in the back of our med spa. So that was like on the hush hush, but we dealt with employees in the back. Like, we were literally sitting in our office and we can hear them like belching and farting right outside.
Smoking cigarettes, and Brandy would go, "Get out of here."
I was big and pregnant. I'm like, I'm pregnant. Get out of here.
Stop smoking.
Yeah, I had to hang a sign.
We hung a sign that they never listened to.
No. So, that was like a hot mess. We were literally sitting at our desk and it was like clouds of smoke coming through the window. But yeah, I was 5 weeks postpartum. I had just had my baby and I was standing outside like rocking her. My mom had her over at the spa, and if somebody was in the back was like, he's unresponsive. And I was like, wait, what? So I'm like nosy. So I go throw my baby in the back with my mom and I call Lauren, and there was a situation where both Lauren and I got to use our nursing knowledge firsthand. So it ended up being a success, but just like little things like that. And then a lot of people
CPR
heard about it
in the parking lot.
Yeah, CPR.
I had busted knees for weeks after that.
Yes. Wait, what about when the EMS was like, they were just lollygagging and walking up, and they were like, what the heck? He already had like an IV.
They're like, who started an IV? I was like, me.
They were so confused.
Yeah.
So remember that at the end of the day, our education is not just aesthetics and Botox and, all things glam. It's really, we have the knowledge, like we could save your life.
Yeah, we're here to save the day.
Yeah. So
save your face.
If anything happens, there was another thing that we had to handle outside. A
couple days ago.
Yeah. So it's not all rainbows and butterflies over here. There's still things that where our past education and training, we can kind of snap back into.
Yeah.
And I was an ICU nurse for 6 years. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but I saw things that I don't ever want to see again, right? Yeah. That's another reason why I got into aesthetics, is because I was so sick of going to work and having to deal with seeing death of young people, and then COVID hit, and I was like, I'm out.
Yeah, for me, it was a lack of autonomy. I worked the night shift in a neurocritical care with fresh stroke patients, and having to call a doctor. They're not coming. They don't care. No. I couldn't just make orders and do what I want to do to like save the patient or fix the situation. That's what drove me to go to school. So
yeah. I really now that I worked for somebody, like I worked for that plastic surgeon, I just don't think I could work for anybody.
No.
I don't, first of all, I hadn't had the mouth for it. So and honestly, there's a couple times where I talked back to him, and I think he enjoyed that I talked back to him because nobody had the balls to do it.
Right.
So really, that's when he started liking me more and allowing me to make decisions, is when I was like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah. When you're limited and you see growth that can change something, it's hard to sit in that. That's what I was dealing with at my nurse practitioner job. I saw so many areas to improve and growth, and it was always just pushed down, and there was no changes, and I was just growing, just stale in a job that I couldn't change or grow in. So it was time for us to do our own thing.
I think our mindset is, how can we do better? Be better. What can we do? And honestly, that to a fault now, I'm always thinking, how can we be better? And there's got to be some point where I get to the point where I'm like, okay, we're here and we're coasting and we're doing the right thing, but my brain doesn't work like that. Call it anxiety, call it perfectionism. It is what it is. That's how we've gotten so successful. Right. But we don't want to settle for, I don't know how to explain it, but we just are constantly thinking about ways to grow and to thrive and to be better, and not just against other people, against ourselves
in this space that we needed the space to allow us to grow, to see more patients and to do more things. So
people probably think we're nuts or our accountant probably thinks we're nuts for going to do a build out as fast as we did, but we had to get away from where we were having too many issues. There was patients waiting in the lobby, and we could have seen so many more patients with the space, but it was holding us back at that point.
Limited us to see more patients, to add on treatments. Nobody wants to say no when patient wants to add on. So now we're able to do all those things.
But taking risk as business owners is huge. We probably are a little delusional and did it before we should have, but and it'll take us some time to recoup. But if we weren't in this space, we would not be able to grow and be where we are. I truly believe that.
Well, we're funny. We're like, hey, there's an old gym over there. We should go see it. And I'm like, okay, let's go see it. We go see it, and it's just an old gym, and it's big, and we're like,
I wish y'all could see this place before we did it.
And our brains our wheels just started turning, and we were like, wow, this would be an easy move. It's in the same spot, good for our patients.
We hadn't even made a year, and we were already deciding kind of what. Yeah, it was I just think at the end of the day, it was a little excitement, but a little delusion at the same time. We did something that probably 0.05% of the world can do within this first year of business. Right. So we definitely see that, and we appreciate that, but we also worked our ass off to do it, and we're going to be working our ass off for a little while to do it. But we weren't even 2 years yet. So
Yeah.
like the bank was like laughed at
Yeah.
us. So
Everybody.
we had to work. Everybody was
People want to limit you. They want to set a number on things and say, oh, you need to spend 5 years before you you need to do this. But at the end of the day, it's limiting your growth. So it's limiting everything. So, take the risk.
Our total sales couldn't be what they are now if we were still in that 3-room space.
Yeah.
So we doubled our space. Yeah, it's going to take us a little while to recover. But when you walk into this space, it is like breathtaking, right? We chose every single detail required us to make decisions. Like 400 a day. How many?
Oh, yeah.
My head was mush when we made all of these decisions. I mean, we had good guidance from my brother with his design, and then my dad. But like another thing, everything went wrong during this build out, right?
Again.
We had the floors laid and we flooded
the floors.
Yeah. So it was like every single little thing did go wrong, but it also all came together. I feel like that's been my life though. Like,
yeah. When we went in together to buy tile and we were like, oh, we like bougie tile. Like, we need to cut back on this.
Yeah, we were picking the most
way over
budget
tile. Yeah.
And so, yeah, we went a little way over budget here, but we chose things that are going to be so timeless and that we can have for a long time.
Yeah, and just capture people's eyes, so.
Yeah. I'm just glad it's over.
Yeah.
But it's so nice to come to work. It's nicer than my house. So it honestly feels so peaceful coming to work. We created a vibe for our patients that they can come in, they feel relaxed, they can hang out a little while and just go from there. Look at all of our, they can have coffee and water and
our employees have space now. We were all on top of each other.
Oh yeah.
Space.
That's another situation. Yeah. That space was getting very, very tight for sure. And working with a bunch of women, that has its own issues too. Oh, yeah. So if we wouldn't have moved when we did, I think we would all hate each other.
Yeah. We would have blown up.
So we're good now. Okay, let's talk about some advice for some new business owners. I'm going to have a whole episode on this, but stuff that we look back and we're like, man, maybe we should have done a little different. I think we didn't make a lot of mistakes, which is really cool to say because most people, I don't even know how we knew what to do.
No, it's weird actually when you think about it.
Like how I
have medical backgrounds,
there's not a lot of resources for nurse practitioners to start
to even know what you need to do.
Honestly, there's not enough resources.
She's like, can we look at the laws for this? I'm like, where are they?
There are none. So being a nurse practitioner in its own, and then being a med spa owner, there's not a class you can take unless you go to business school on how to start a med spa. So we literally figured it out between us two. Like we figured it out and we didn't make a lot of mistakes. Thankfully, we had to, we had to go through a couple of bookkeepers. We had to go through a couple of things, resources that we felt we needed more help on.
Right.
So hire people like that. Yeah. Definitely when you're getting started, it's worth the money to invest in that. But only buying what you need to start. Don't think you need to be in an elaborate space.
No.
But start at that small space because then that'll prove that you can grow into that bigger space. If we would have started here, we'd have been playing catch up for 20 years.
Oh yeah.
So we grow slowly. Don't grow too fast, but don't grow too slow as well. Very low overhead. Start with that. Don't go investing in a bunch of lasers, right off the get-go. We were very lucky that they approved us for that's a whole other story. We went to an InMode convention and it was in Dallas, right? I was pregnant. I remember that. And our husbands were like, don't buy anything. And we're like, we can't anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And then we came home with a laser.
I might have had some mimosas too.
I was sober. So.
We were like, wait, we need this because we can't be sending people away for laser hair removal. And
and now we're North Shore's best laser hair removal.
Yeah, so hey.
It paid itself.
Don't always listen to your husbands.
So we just made a lot of decisions that nobody else would have made and they ended up paying off in the long run. Yeah. So don't do what we did, but kind of
don't always feel like you have to be in a box, and meet a certain number and then be, it's sometimes taking a risk is what needs to happen.
Taking a risk, having a little delusion, maybe some drinks, but also just knowing what you want people to know you as. We couldn't just offer injectables. Knew there was skin stuff that we needed to address, laser hair removal. I knew that was a huge thing. Every single human would love to get their hair removed. Right. So the initial investment was scary, but it paid off.
Yeah. Patients come into you when you're trying to just do injectables and they're talking about their skin and you need this, and this. As a business, you cringe to send them out to.
We had people calling, ask us to get laser hair removal, and we're like, we got to get it. Right. I think that purchasing the laser when we did was crucial. So there's so many more topics that we can talk about. That's why we're going to have so many more episodes, but I and we can definitely have you on in the future when I go into more detail of that. But being a business owner and doing it with your childhood best friend it's really cool to have somebody to lean on, because I couldn't imagine doing this myself. But yeah, so stay tuned for some future topics. I'm going to have Jen come on, and I have a couple of other people that are going to come on that I'm excited to have, just to kind of deep dive into the aesthetic industry and kind of debunk some of the, myths and all that. But thank you for coming on.
Of course. Happy to be here.
Yeah. All right.